What's up, YouTube? Carolina Calvin. We're back. We're doing the Western Conference first round. If you haven't checked out my last video, me and MG, we did the first round of the Eastern Conference. Of course, the matchups, what day the first game's on, and who we picking to win and in how many games. This video, of course, we're doing the Western Conference. Going down the list, we're starting with the number one seed in the entire playoffs, Houston Rockets, who played the Minnesota Timberwolves, who pretty much made it. It was a win and you're in against the Denver Nuggets at the end of the season. They got Jimmy Butler back in the last few games. A huge help. But you're facing a Rockets team that can put up a lot of points. They don't play much. Their star player, James Harden, doesn't play much defense and hasn't really showed up in the playoffs. But the dude has so much firepower this season. Combine that with getting Chris Paul, all the shooters, guys coming off the bench, bunch of 3-and-D guys. Minnesota, I like Jimmy Butler as a leader, but Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins' defense, I think, hurts them in this series. They aren't good defenders. If you watch them throughout the season, they have the you see Andrew Wiggins' athletic ability. He has the ability to play defense. He just sucks. He just sucks at defense. And he's a whiner because he clearly wants to, he wants to be that number one guy when he clearly doesn't have the talent to be that number one guy. Not over Karl-Anthony Towns, or definitely not over Jimmy Butler. And Karl-Anthony Towns, he can score the points. I'll give him that, but he is soft as Charmin. And he's really weak around the rim. He'll get a block just because of his athletic ability, his length. But I expect him to get exposed. He's bad in the pick and roll, despite him being an athlete. I'm gonna go with Houston, and this may surprise people. Nah, it won't. I'm going Houston in 5, man. I think Houston has too much firepower. And James Harden has a bad game. Chris Paul is gonna. You got Chris Paul to step in and go. He makes other players better. And they got a bunch of shooters. Mike D'Antoni. There's a good chance they run, especially in the first game. I see them running straight out the gym. I got Houston in 5. Oh, and by the way, the first game comes on Sunday, April 15th at 9 p.m. I believe it's the last game of that day. Could be wrong. I believe it's the last game of the day. But, yeah, Houston in 5. What about you, MG?
Actually, I'm going to... It's hard not to say the sweep.
Yeah.
Because he's so dominant with everybody there.
I'm giving it Jimmy Butler has a really freaking good game, and they get a W. Maybe in Minnesota.
Especially if Houston's knocking down threes. They're a hard team to beat. What's the status of Aminu?
I don't know.
Because I know he hurt his shoulder when he tried that dunk a couple of nights. I think it was the second to last game of the year.
I don't know his status. What injury did he have?
His shoulder. I think he popped his shoulder out or hurt it. He hurt his shoulder though.
I'm trying to find my phone.
Let me see.
I don't know. Like I said, the Rockets team got a lot of firepower, man. They got a lot of firepower, and it's one of those cases where James Harden can have one of those blunder series that we've seen him have in the past, and they still win big, possibly sweeping Minnesota. And I like that Minnesota team. It's just different than star guys. They get too many holes defensively, and you got to be on point against Houston.
Yeah, another issue for Minnesota is that they don't shoot the 3-ball well.
And you got to be able to score points because Houston's going to score them.
Yeah, Clint Capella's had a really good year.
Yeah, he has.
Rebounding the ball. He isn't bad defensively. I mean, he's not a great defender, but he's not horrible. I gotta do it. I gotta call the sweep. I gotta call the sweep here, man. Look, here's the thing. I can't justify Minnesota winning a game, even if Houston's having an off night. Chris Paul still exists.
Yep.
And like I said, Minnesota has a hard time being consistent offensively. They don't get up enough threes consistently enough to really do it. Then they're not a great defensive team either. So I'm gonna call the sweep in this one. I don't think Minnesota has the firepower to even compete in a series.
You know what? I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna take back the 5 games and give them the sweep. Houston just way too much shooting.
It's just hard to see a point where they lose, right? Like, you want to give Minnesota a game, but it's hard to find it because when Capella, Harden, and Chris Paul have all been on the floor this year, they've only lost twice.
Yeah.
They've only lost twice when fully healthy as a team. So that's kind of scary.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to sweep, man. I'm going to sweep. Like I said, only chance, the big three for Minnesota have a great game. Karl Anthony Towns making everything inside, making the jump shot. Jimmy Butler knocking down threes. Wiggins is scoring as well. It's the only way they could get a game to me.
They might have to experiment with lineups where you move Jimmy to the 1 and put Crawford in at the 2.
Yeah.
And I know for efficiency's sakes that is horrible, but there's gonna be times where they just need people to get shots up.
Yep. They're gonna have to play. They're definitely gonna have to go with the small ball, I think.
Yep. Speed up the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
Try to run with Houston.
Because they're not stopping them.
Yeah.
They're not stopping them.
So you might just have to put your best scorers on the floor and live with the results at a certain point in time, which I doubt Tibbs will do. But
no,
it might be their best cause of action because Jeff Teague, he's going to be guarding James Harden or Chris Paul. Ugh.
Ooh, he's getting cooked.
He's not going to be any better with Jamal in there, but at least with Jamal, he can create for himself and he can create for others when he wants to. So I might have to experiment with that at least for one game. Especially if you get down 2-0, you experiment with it.
Yeah. And not much more to lose anyway. Next game, the number 2 seed, the Golden State Warriors, head to they played the number 7 seed San Antonio Spurs. This game comes on Saturday, April 14th. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This the game we talked about is the first game of the entire first round of for the first round of the playoffs. I like the way LaMarcus Aldridge is played, but everything that's gone on with Kawhi, he's not playing, right?
No.
Golden State Curry's not playing, of course. He's not going to play in this first series, but this matchup is so favorable for them. Oh my gosh. Just because Spurs, the way LaMarcus Aldridge played, he should be in consideration for MVP with the way he's played. This is a Spurs team, man. That was at a point they were out of the playoffs, and for a Spurs team to get a 7 seed, a team that consistently for a while have gotten a top 4 seed, it's a lot going on, and I just don't think, even without Curry, I don't think they. I'll give them 5. Because despite the play, Klay Thompson, he's been battling injuries. He had a thumb injury, right? Was it the thumb?
Who, Klay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the thumb injury, so he's been out of the lineup. But it's the guys who can heat it up. Draymond's been trash. He's been healthy most of the year. He's been trash. Durant's he's missed some games. But I just think, even with the guys they got there, I think they can outplay the Spurs. This is a favorable matchup for them, especially out of all those lower seed teams. Because originally, before the end of the season, they were going to match up against Oklahoma City, and that was the one they didn't want. Despite the play of Oklahoma City, they beat Golden State, even when Curry has played. But give me Golden State, despite all the injuries, despite Curry not being there. I got them against the Spurs. I'll give them 6. I'll give the Spurs 2 games. I'll say Golden State in 6. But definitely a matchup that Golden State should be happy about, honestly. I'm being generous with 6, am I?
I don't know. I mean, because LaMarcus has been playing some good ball. My main concern with the Spurs is they haven't shot the three ball well this year. Nope. And then scoring outside of LaMarcus, there isn't much. Like at all, really. I don't think anybody else on that team averages over 10 besides LaMarcus. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Warriors in 5, even without Curry. I think KD's been playing, some solid basketball, especially down. I think within 5 minutes with the game, within 5 points, he's shooting like 50% over 50% from the field and over 50 from three. It's ridiculous. It's like 55 from three or something like that, and 56 from the field. It's really good. And so I think the Spurs still play solid defense, and I think they'll be able to try to hold the Warriors down from, going on a crazy offensive explosion, but I don't know if they'll be able to score enough points to really, win these games. I mean, they're not going to be losing. I don't think they're going to be losing by 15, 20, but I think a lot of these games are probably going to be like 7, 8 point losses. I'll go Warriors in 5. They still got home court advantage as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just, and the thing with LaMarcus is you can double LaMarcus a lot.
Yeah, there's not really
anybody else. Yeah, I mean, DeJounte Murray, he'll get into the middle of the lane here and there, put up a couple of floaters, get to the basket here and there, free throw line, but it won't be enough to keep him in a game with a team with shooters. Especially Quinn Cook, a lot of people have slept on Quinn Cook, but with the way he has played in replacement of Curry, he's been really good scoring the ball. Really good. So, I still think the Warriors should be fine in the first round. I'll go 5 games.
I want to change it, but I'm going to stick with 6. I'll show Spurs a little bit of respect, but I'm being generous with 6 because honestly, it could be a sweep.
Yeah.
It could be a sweep. And I just don't like predicting sweeps because I want the games to be more entertaining, so it's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the Warriors still, despite the injuries, despite the play, the inconsistency in play this season. You look at their record, and they're still not too far behind Houston, who's been mostly healthy throughout the season. Next game, the 3 seed Portland Trail Blazers play the 6 seed New Orleans Pelicans. Portland's probably been one of the biggest surprises of the season. I know you don't like Damian Lillard, but he's had his games where he's cooking. He still has those games where he's 6 of 24, stuff like that. But he's had some games where he's been really hot. McCollum. They, like I said, getting that number 3 seed in the West, which has been very competitive, was huge. Pelicans, another surprise team. DeMarcus Cousins goes down. It goes back to the Anthony Davis show. And he makes the case for MVP. And the guy's been playing both ends of the floor. This is an interesting one because I want to pick the Pelicans so bad because I like the way Anthony Davis plays. Drew Holiday's played well. Mirotic has made some plays. Ooh. You know what? I'm going to go New Orleans in 7. I'm going to go New Orleans in 7. Because I think there will be some games where Damian Lillard can't buy a bucket. And, Anthony Davis, he's going to ball. I think he's going to ball. Will some of those other guys step up? They still need more shooters. And that's the biggest question. Like I said, Drew Holiday he's been under the radar. A lot of people talk about Anthony Davis, but no one brings up Drew Holiday where he's played. I'm going to go New Orleans in 7. It's a good matchup because Portland have the guards, and of course New Orleans has Anthony Davis. Wish DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, but it is what it is.
That's an interesting series, actually. Um. I really don't like Portland.
Me neither. They have played some good basketball.
Yeah, they have. Obviously, the main thing to keep an eye on is Anthony Davis's role players.
Yep.
In their performance, because Anthony Davis, we are pretty much figure at this point he's going to bring it on both ends on the floor, especially on the offensive end. For Portland, I think the key for Portland is not only going to be their efficiency, because McCollum and Lillard both have a tendency to be inefficient at times, but I think Nurkic. This is a different team once they get Nurkic going. Whether it be out of the pick and roll, whether it be getting them some drops down low, getting them a couple easy jumpers. When Nurkic gets going, this is a difficult team to stop, especially with Dame Lillard and McCollum on the outside. Now, I do think that the one real advantage that Portland has that a lot of teams don't have, a lot of teams don't run as well of a two-man game with their two lead guards as Portland does.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see a lot of plays where Lillard and McCollum run give and goes with each other, which is very rare in the NBA today. You have your point and your shooting guards playing a two-man game. It's usually a big and a small doing that. So that's definitely a big advantage. I think the main thing for me in this series is going to be the defense of New Orleans. Outside of Anthony Davis, they're not a great defensive team.
Mm-mm.
And I think Portland is going to have their way a lot of games in this series. I honestly can see this one going 5, but I'm going to go 6 games.
Okay.
I'm going to go 6 because of Anthony Davis, but I can honestly see it going 5. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, because New Orleans role players aren't that good. True Holiday, really outside of that, most of the guys haven't been consistent.
Yeah, I mean, they got Rondo, who's playing some decent basketball right now in terms of distributing
the floor.
Yeah, but he ain't. Yeah, he's a liability in terms of scoring. And defensively, he's not a great defender either. I'll say this: a lot of games in this series could get ugly.
Yeah, especially if Portland's hot. You know how hot if Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum gets hot. Nurkic, those guys get hot.
Yeah,
that's a blowout. Anthony Davis can't, he can't provide you that much, and even with True Holiday's production, who else is going to play well? Mirotic, can't really rely on him.
Mm-hmm. Especially once Portland starts getting up and down and running. New Orleans can't run with them and keep up with that type of pace. What New Orleans needs to do is slow the pace down, in all honesty.
Yeah. I'm still going to go New Orleans 7. No. I'm still going to stick with 7. I'm going to go with Portland in 7. This is a series I feel as though is a series that Anthony Davis has to win for just, and this may sound weird, just kind of for his brand. Because he's been a guy, he's had unfavorable matchups in the first round. This still is one, but he's had teams. He had to play the Warriors one year. There's been years where he doesn't make the playoffs. Obviously, not all his fault for either situation, but to be one of the best players in basketball, which to me he's the best player in basketball, have to have some success in the first round. Like I said, it's not all on him, but I think this is a series that could sneak out of. But I don't know. Like I say, it could go either way. I'm after talking about it, I'm leaning Portland 7. Just because of, I think they can put up more points from other guys outside of their main guy.
Yeah, I definitely think he has to win, though. He needs it.
He needs it. But because he's a player that no one really talks about, despite how good he is, especially from the casual standpoint. The hardcore people, of course, they're going to talk about him. But the casuals don't really talk about him. Despite his skill set, athletic ability, you think more people will talk about him.
Yeah, he definitely has to get out of the first round eventually before he gets labeled Cool. Once that label gets hit on you, there's nothing you can do about it. Look at Chris Paul. That label's still following him around.
Mm-hmm. But people say he did all these things, but he hasn't been to the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
This game, if I didn't already say, Saturday, April 14th, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so it's going to be a late game. If you're over in the East Coast, definitely going to be a late game. The next series, which is the last of the series for the Western Conference playoffs, Western Conference first round playoffs. Game 1 comes on Sunday, April 15th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The 4 seed Oklahoma City Thunder face the 5 seed Utah Jazz. For Utah, Quinn Snyder's been good. He's a candidate for Coach of the Year. I'm still going Brad Stevens, but I wouldn't be mad if he got selected. Rudy Gobert is to me his Defensive Player of the Year. He's been playing some really good defense. He's been the anchor of that Utah Jazz defense in a league where not many players play defense. He has been really good. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they have to be volume players. Westbrook takes probably the lowest IQ superstar in basketball. With the decision making he makes at the end, at the end of games, in crunch time, in big situations, you just see he makes a lot of bonehead plays. But throughout games, you just see what this guy can do. He's a great player. It's just decision making in crunch time. Paul George's jump shots went into the toilet. This is after really starting out the season. He was he had a point in the season he was hot. Melo's a bum. He plays no defense, and Utah has to exploit that. Pick and rolls. Carmelo's been bad. He's been bad on defense. His jump shot hasn't really been falling. But this is Oklahoma City team. It's like you don't know what you're gonna get. If they're hot, they can beat anyone. But it's just based on what we've seen, it's been inconsistent, to say the least. It's been very inconsistent throughout the season. I like the way Steven Adams has played as a big. Russell Westbrook steals a lot of rebounds from him, but I like him. He's pretty much a banger. Him against Gobert. I know it's not a marquee matchup, but I like seeing that. I like seeing bigs play in the league where not very many good bigs. I'm leaning Oklahoma City. I'll say Oklahoma City in 6. I think they'll have their hot games. The ones they lose, of course, jump shot just goes into the toilet. But I'm gonna say them in 6. It's a tough one. What about you?
Utah, they've actually been a surprising team this year. Definitely credit to Snyder for the coaching job that he's done. Donovan Mitchell pretty much came out of nowhere. There were some people who believed in Donovan Mitchell, but I don't think anybody could have predicted he would have been.
Oh yeah, right there, Rookie of the Year candidacy.
Yeah, and especially when you're talking about a guy who, Gobert missed a lot of time during the season.
Yep. And
Donovan Mitchell was the guy leading the charge for them. So, it's very interesting. This is a tough one to call. Thunder have home court advantage too.
Mm-hmm. Tough to beat at home.
They are. Westbrook does. His basketball IQ is definitely not great. But I think Paul George is going to be the key factor in the series.
He make jump shots.
Yeah. That's going to be it. I mean, even if you look at the other night when Westbrook got the triple-double, right? When he got the triple-double for the season. People forget, I think Paul George had 40 in that game.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So, Paul George knocking down shots is going to be the number one thing here. I don't really have faith in Melo doing anything of value. the Thunder don't really have much other options in terms of scoring. I mean, you might get Steven Adams some drop off down low here and there, but I mean, Gobert's going to be, defending a lot of that. I'm going to go Thunder here, but I'm going to go in 7.
You're going to go in 7.
I think this is a long series. I think Donovan Mitchell has a field day. Depending on who's guarding him, they might end up putting Brewer on him, which is going to be a thing. Like, who do you put Brewer on, him, or do you? Yeah, they probably do. They probably do stick Brewer on Donovan Mitchell. So Rubio and Ingles are really going to have to be the main 2 guys doing things offensively. I think Donovan Mitchell's still going to get his. Rudy Gobert down low, he should have a field day. Should. We'll see if they can feed him the ball, along with a Derek Favors, who I think he's definitely not lived up to the potential that everybody's seen in him at some point during his career. But I think this should be an easy series for him to be able to do some things as well, just because he's a matchup problem. I almost think you have to start him.
Because Thunder goes small with Melo at the 4.
Yeah, I almost think you have to start him, especially because of Derek Favors' athleticism.
Yeah, Melo's not blown by anybody.
Yeah, and Derek Favors isn't going to slow you down because he is able to get up and down the court. He is able to move his feet. So I almost think you do start Derek Favors. Yeah, I'm still leaning Thunder in 7. Those guys Westbrook and George have a tendency to catch fire. That's kind of their mentality: shoot till you get hot. And once they get hot, it seems like everything's falling. So, yeah, I'm gonna go Thunder in 7. I'm gonna go Thunder in 7 here. I don't think the Jazz are gonna be able to score consistently enough to keep up with the pace of Thunder. And what they do defensively is great, but the game changes when the pace gets sped up, and now you got Gobert having to run full court every possession, and they're not able to slow the game down, right? So I think the Thunder speed up the pace here, and give Utah some troubles out in transition, and Westbrook and George end up with a lot of easy buckets.
Okay, but that pretty much does it for first round of the playoffs. Like I said, did the Eastern Conference in the last video. This is the Western Conference first round. MG, you can go ahead and plug your stuff.
You can just find me on Twitter at Virtuoso Sports, and then I'm on BlitzSportsNetwork.com throughout the week, covering pretty much all types of topics from sports to movies and games and shit.
And if you haven't already subscribed, please do that. Like this video. And of course, already subscribe. Peace.